Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're doing all good. In this video, I'm taking an in-depth look into the CR56 AMAX, and we're going to be comparing them to the other meta guns in Warzone right now, and that is of course the godly GRAU and the M4A1. So earlier this week, I've put up a couple of videos going into some of the more basic stats of the AMAX. So in this one, we're more specifically looking at the specific meta setups that most people run for the AMAX, the GRAU and the M4A1, and we're going to be comparing them. But before I do jump into it, as always, if you guys are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications to stay up to date with all of my amazing Warzone content. I'm going big in Season 4, so you really don't want to miss out on all of my content. And if you enjoy this video, give it a like, it really does help me out. Okay, my dudes, let's get into this. So for a meta setup, what do I mean? So a meta setup is essentially the kind of most commonly used setup in the game at the moment. So it comprises of this, the longest barrel that you have for the gun. So for the AMAX, it's the Zodiac barrel. For the GRAU, it's the Archangel, etc. Then you put on the monolithic suppressor, the Commando foregrip to really help with the recoil stabilization. I'll get into the specifics of what that means in a second for those of you who don't know. The ammo count, you put on the biggest mag that you possibly can to a certain extent. So for the GRAU, it's the 60 mags. For this, the AMAX, is the 45 round mags. And then lastly, you put on the tac laser. Now, as you can see here, I've done the same thing for the GRAU and then also the M4. So this is essentially what I've been looking at so that it keeps my kind of testing and what I'm talking to you amazing people about today consistent. So let's jump into the actual stats. So on screen now, you'll see the numbers that I crunched for shots to kill with this build for each of these guns. So as you can see, I've highlighted in green that the AMAX absolutely smashes the GRAU and the M4A1 to pieces. So what's incredible that it has a 6-shot kill range all the way up until about 37.5 meters, where it goes to an 8-shot kill and it stays there for like 75 meters plus, which is pretty damn well insane. So I kind of went into this in the other video that I talked to you guys about before. I'll leave a card in the top right hand corner where it goes into the more basic stats. But when you compare the basic stats to this is insane. So looking at the GRAU, it's a 9-shot kill up until 62.5 meters, where it switches to an 11-shot kill and it stays there pretty much until like sniper territory. And then the M4 is coming in kind of last. It's a 9-shot kill up until 45 meters and it goes to 12 up until 75 meters. At 75 meters plus, it's a 14-shot kill. And as you dudes will know from watching my videos before, all of this means nothing until you take into account TTK. So still, when we take time to kill into consideration, the AMAX comes out on top by a lot, dudes, by a lot. So 12.5 meters all the way up until 37.5 meters. It's like 390 milliseconds time to kill, which is insane. Then past that, it just switches to a 540 millisecond time to kill, which is insane. So if we take the first set of numbers, the 390 milliseconds, that is like nearly a third quicker than the GRAU, which is insane. And you guys can see, you can pause the video and kind of take a look at this in your own time if you want to. But the M4 TTK actually comes in like second place in blue there up until about 45 meters, where the GRAU kind of takes over second place and is better from 45 up until 75 meters plus. So that's power and damage at range done. But that's really not all you can kind of take on board. Sadly, it's not going to beat the GRAU in that way. We have to take into account mobility. So let's take a look at that stats. But before I do, I'm not really a massive M4 fanboy. I've never really got on with it, and we're going to get into why in a second when I show you the recoil patterns. But so it really, for me, it's just a 2-horse race. It's between the AMAX and the GRAU for the meta spots in Warzone at present. So taking a look at the mobility stats, the AMAX has an ADS of 317 milliseconds in this build, the GRAU has an ADS of 283 milliseconds, and the M4 comes in at 300 milliseconds. He's got a C4 right in the face. So from this we can see that the GRAU comes out on top in terms of ADS, then the M4 is second, and the AMAX is sadly last. So in close quarter situations, when you need to ADS in quick, or just in general really, I guess, it's not as good as the other two guns. Now taking a look at movement speed, the AMAX has a movement speed of 89%, the GRAU has a movement speed of 89% as well, and the M4 has a movement speed of 87%. So the M4 is a bit slower. The AMAX and the GRAU come in at both the same. So in terms of just general movement speed, they're exactly the same. So pretty even there. And lastly, for mobility, let's take a look at strafe speed. So the AMAX has a strafe speed of 36%, the GRAU is 43%, and the M4 is 38%. So the AMAX comes in last, then the M4 second, and then the GRAU comes out on top. So to summarize this mobility section, the AMAX isn't really that aggressive. If you're looking for aggression in an assault rifle with this build, then you want to go really for the GRAU as always. So unfortunately, it's not really an aggressive player's assault rifle. It's not as kind of in your face as the GRAU, but you get the extra damage. So the last thing we can really take a look at to kind of get a big full picture of all these weapons and what is the best, we need to take a look at recoil. So let's do that. So here's the three patterns on the wall. So we have the AMAX on the left, then we have the GRAU in the middle, and we have the M4A1 on the right. And as I said earlier, I'm not an M4 fanboy anyway, and this gives me even more reason not to use it. I think this is the reason why I never used it in the first place, because of this recoil pattern. Look at how it kind of kicks to the right, and this is with the Commando foregrip, which really helps with recoil stabilization. As I said earlier, I'll explain what recoil stabilization does. It basically, what it does is it minimizes the amount of bullet bounce from left to right, so it makes your recoil patterns very linear. It doesn't completely strip away any kick like you can kind of see here, but it should really help. But when we take a look at the AMAX and the GRAU, they're just in a completely different league, you know? So between the two, the galil or the AMAX has this kind of like a little jump between the kind of like first to third bullets. It kind of has this big kick and then it settles down. Where the GRAU, as we all know, is just a laser beam. It's just consistent. It's a very vertical recoil pattern. The same as the galil. So they're kind of similar, but you know the GRAU doesn't give you any kind of kickback. So for me, it's a very difficult thing to summarize. On one hand, you have the AMAX, which has like incredible damage, which is why I have been using it a lot in Warzone pretty much fundamentally. I think I used the GRAU once today just to kind of refresh myself. And when you do use the GRAU, it is like, Jesus, man, this thing is just insane. So it's very difficult not to use the GRAU, but I don't like just using the meta weapons. I want to be able to run around and like use every kind of gun that I want and still have a fighting chance. But at the moment, it really feels like the GRAU is just, if you're not using it, then you're at a massive disadvantage. So they really do need to do something to nerf this gun. I know that's quite controversial, but I think most of you would agree. If you have your thoughts on this, put them down in the comments. I would really like to hear it actually, because I only listen to the people that I play with, obviously my YouTube dudes and my buddies. So it'd be interesting to hear what you guys say about that. Because at the moment, it's just like a one gun game. If you're not using the GRAU, as I just said, you're at a disadvantage. So why would you want to use any other gun? I completely get it. So for me, I was really hoping that the AMAX would step in and kind of kick the GRAU out a little bit. It kind of does, but you have to be able to handle this recoil. It's not as laser beamy as the GRAU, so you kind of have to take it. And the damage is there, but it's not massively like, oh my god, this is so OP, this is the best gun in the game. You still kind of want to go back to use the GRAU. So let me know what you guys think. You go ahead and try out these setups, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. I will see you in the next video. Stay safe. Peace.